Welcome to my weekly review. Today is Saturday, September 28th. There's a lot going on in the market, so let's get right to it. The Nasdaq last week was an important week for many reasons. First one I want to point out is that the Nasdaq started its power trend, which is a good thing. We don't know how long it will last, but we know it'll end when this 21 EMA, starts trading below the 50. But we'll be out or yellow or red flags here before that time comes. So let's enjoy the power trend while it lasts. The Nasdaq on Friday was up 70 points or 0.39%. It closed 4% above its 50 simple moving average. We like that. And 2.2% above the 21 and 1.1% above this green line, which is the 10 EMA. Let's take a look at the weekly. This is a weekly review. Last week, the index gained 171 points, 0.95%, closed at 18,119. The volume was slightly below the 50-day average, but you can see the last 3 weeks on the Nasdaq, the volume's picking up, even though last week it was, 3% below the average daily volume. So the Nasdaq is actually catching up with some of its partner indexes. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closing near all-time highs. And it traded at an all-time high, 42,628. So this one has been the leading index. And then this SPY making new highs as well, 574.71 last week. So indexes making new highs is very bullish. The SPY and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And now I got to look at the IWM because the thesis is, or the thought process is, that the IWM, the small caps, will do a little better during the interest rate reduction program that the Fed started. But so far, not so good. It was down last week, 0.56%. And you can see a 3.6% below off its all-time, 52-week high, about 228. So IWM has some work to do, and we'll just have to take it one day at a time. I think right now the Nasdaq is the one that I'm focused on, and it's certainly looking like it wants to power higher as it just started its new power trend. And you can see the moving averages are stacked, trending higher. The 50 just ticked up on Thursday, I believe. So anyway, let's get to some stocks. I'm a stock picker. I'm not, I don't really trade the indexes. Apple's been in the news a lot lately. And, a lot of negativity out there around their launch of the iPhone 16. And, Warren Buffett sold some of the stock, but I think Apple's going to be fine. You can see it's just consolidating in a base, following this base on base pattern from July of last year all the way up to June of this year. So nearly a year here, this base on base. Then it ran up, made that high, probably anticipation of a new product or AI, whatever. It doesn't matter. There was some buying going on here. Even though Buffett was selling, it's still his largest position. Last week just had an inside week, as you can see here. So possible 3 weeks tight here if it closes near that 228 next week. Anyway, Apple looks fine. Microsoft building a base here. This one looks pretty good. I got to go to yeah, it was down last week, 1.6%, while the Nasdaq was up, which is kind of rare, but you can see this cup with handle pattern on the daily. So that looks pretty good for Mr. Softy. Tesla is another one that's looking pretty good here. You can see this stage one base, and it looks to break out of it. Last week it was up 9%, maybe in anticipation of some news here. I don't know. I'm just, technically it looks pretty good as it builds out this right side of its base. 10% above its 21. So maybe a little pullback here, a little handle form in the next week or so. Other ones that I like is Meta Platforms. Got to look at the weekly here. I think this, yeah, above that old pivot point there. What was it? 542, close at 567. That's pretty tight trading right there. 561, 567. So maybe it's just gonna, handle out here ahead of earnings, which is October 23rd, which is coming up. Tuesday is the beginning of October, the fourth quarter. The third quarter ends on Monday. That's usually significant. Any other ones in the Mag 7 want to take a look at here? Amazon, possibly forming another base here, maybe a cup with handle. It's been consolidating. It's a weekly review. Got to take a look at the weekly charts there. You can see it's been a while since May. It had that August 5th sell off like just about everything else, and then it was rallied back up. And then NVDA, can't have a video without NVIDIA. This one's just consolidating in its base. It was up 4.6% last week, even though on Friday it sold off due to news that China, doesn't want them to use their chips. But technically, it just pulled back to its 10 EMA. This one looks pretty strong to me. As long as it stays above the 10 EMA, there's green line here, and the green line's going north. The stock's going to go north. As long as it stays above a rising moving average, duh, you're going to make money. All right, let's move on, because really the story last week, I was watching Bloomberg Sunday night and it flashed on the screen there. This was after the football game. And there was news on Bloomberg that China had launched this bazooka of stimulus, and they went on and laid out all the criteria for this stimulus package. I'm going, wow, that's pretty significant. I bet you the China stocks are going to, get a boost on Monday. Lo and behold, what the heck did I know? These things really took off. This is a JD. This is my favorite of the China stocks. This one was up, 5% on Friday after ripping all week. Wow, that's a hell of a move. You can see it's just breaking out of a stage one base though. So, if you're looking at this chart and you don't know, what stock this is, you just say, hey, it's sold off, sold off. There's no more sellers. Now it's breaking out of a stage one base. Probably the start of a bigger move. I mean, the closing range is 100% of the weekly range. So the odds are, probabilities are, it's going to go higher. It may pull back because it's so extended, but Wall Street's like anybody else. They're like a bunch of sheep. Once they start buying these things, I mean, they're selling winners to buy these China stocks. It was just a race to see who could buy the most China stocks last week, and it was a stampede of buying. This one is only 22% above its 10 EMA, so that's a little hot. BABA's another one that's a popular stock. I don't really care for BABA, but I'm just acknowledging strength here, and it's a weekly review, so I got to go to the weekly chart. Same thing, it's breaking out of a stage one base. 90% of its weekly range, it closed at 90%. So this stock's probably going higher. I mean, like I said, if you didn't know these stocks, here's PDD, Pinduoduo, retail internet stock, sold off. I'm going to show the daily here in a minute, but this looks really ominous. But if you just look, it's been in an uptrend, and now it's just consolidating in the base. And this is another one that I kind of like. It was only up 35% last week, and only 19% above its 10 EMA. So these things are on fire. And this is the base here from 164. I mean, if you were one of these, Darvis guys, you'd say, hey, 164.69, it needs to break above that, before I start getting interested. So this is not like JD or BABA. This one has some work to do just within the base there. FUTU is another one that I've traded in the past, and I kind of like the way it trades. So it's one that I watch. This one's just consolidating in a stage two base, so it's already made a little bit of a move off its lows, and this one closed the daily range, 98% of the daily range. So this one's like JD, it's probably going higher. See the big volume move up only 31% last week. So it's funny how, I said it to myself like, oh, they're going up, but I didn't buy any China stocks. I don't know why. It's one of my character flaws, I guess. I should have just been in there buying on Monday because of the stimulus, but I didn't. This is QFIN, and this one already broke out as well. You can see this consolidation here in this stage one base. It rallied up from the bottoms and then had this consolidation, then broke out the week of August 16th, 20% move. That's a nice breakout. Formed this little shelf pattern and then ran again last week, another 15%. I want to see what that looks like on the daily chart. Yeah, there's your breakout. There's your shelf. If you can follow along, there's your breakout. There's your shelf, and then back up again. So this thing is a very strong stock, and another one that I like in the group. Now, if you don't want to own any individual names for whatever reason, this KWEB looks good to me as well. Just, you can see this kind of base on base pattern here. This is a cup with handle. That's one hell of a handle. This is a cup, and now it's straight up from the bottom. But that buy area, the standard buy area, the paint by numbers is just right there. So it's not far away from a buy point. The problem is it was up. It's an ETF, and it's up 26% last week. And very rarely do you see an ETF extended like this. 22% above its 21. So, but you got to acknowledge the relative strength, man. The relative strength line is just going berserk, rallying through the moving averages. So you got to respect that. And on the weekly range, it closed 97%. So this tells me this is the start of a bigger move. How big and how long, nobody knows, but it's probably not just going to be a 1 week phenomenon. The other one that you got to acknowledge is the FXI. This is the China 50 index, and just powerful move with volume. 95% of the weekly closing range, up 18.5%. So that's it for the China stocks. I'm not going to belabor the point anymore. I mean, they're super strong. Wall Street was buying them. I don't know, China had a little bit, response to the Federal Reserve's lowering interest rates and throw out the bazooka to try to help their struggling economy. Anyway, I'm going to move on. There's a couple other ones that I like here that have been, I've been watching for a while, I've been owning for a while. We had this on our ready list a few weeks ago when it broke above. You can see on the weekly that downtrend line there, very pronounced breakout 2 weeks ago. It was up 26%, and then last week tacked on another 9% gain. So that's a very strong stock. VST. This is Vistra, closed at 90, closed at 71% of its weekly range. Here you can see it rallied up, just breaking out of a base here of 107.24. I thought I might have trouble with 100. Not the case, but it ran up to a new high on Thursday of 122.01. I did trim some on that day. And then it just had an inside day on Friday, a nice quiet inside day. But Vistra is very strong stock, one that I like in the utility electric power group. CEG and GEV, these are the alternative energies. This one, pretty similar profile here, where it broke out 2 weeks ago and then went flat last week. Let's take a look at the weekly here. There you can see it breaking out of the base. 30% move, closing range, 100% closing range. And what did it do the next week? It went up, like 1%. We'll take that. Kind of flattened out. As you can see on the daily, if I go to the, this line, like made that high and just kind of holding it, which is good. It's not selling off. GE Vernova, this one you can see broke out way back here about 185. This one's been running for a while. And yeah, man, look at this breakout, just boom, boom, boom. 3 weeks in a row where it had, I believe, 2 weeks in a row where it had double-digit gain, 13.5%, then followed up with 8.8%. Last week was only up 1.79%, but those two are super strong. And then TLN is the weekly review. We'll keep it on the weekly chart. This one's just, you can see the base here. Now it's really extended from the base. Last week made a new high of 197, then pulled back. Closing range was 31% on the week. You can see the group, one of the top groups, and the pullback on Friday was to the 10, and then it bounced a little bit. So the 10 is 176, it pulled back to 175, closed at 182. So I'm looking for this one on Monday and next week. Definitely one to watch. A couple other ones we've had on our Ready list recently. This is NEE, Next Era Energy, and you can see the breakout. It's moving higher, getting extended. And then NRG, we had this one last week as well, and you can see a clean breakout here. Nearly a 7% move, then followed it up. It was up last week, yeah, nearly 5%. So very clear, consolidation, base pattern here. Now it's just breaking out of the base. Closing range was 71% of the weekly range. You can see the earnings line heading due north. So the RS line heading due north. So energy is a strong stock in RG. And the last one I want to show in this group is DTE Energy, another utility, diversified. This one's a little kind of a slower mover. It was up 1.8% last week, but making new highs, just grinding higher. Just a Kelly Slater stock, just surfing that 21. As long as that 21, this magenta line is heading higher and it just keeps finding support there, it's just going to keep going higher, making, higher highs. So, yeah, you're making money if you just hold on to the damn thing. And it keeps doing that. All right. Some other names that I got to get to. These are the leisure gaming equipment. This is kind of tied to the China names. I should have done this before the utilities. But anyway, you can see this is when. Straight up from the bottom, closing range 99%. So that one is, looking like the start of another move here higher. This is Las Vegas Sands Leisure Gaming, essentially gambling stocks, closing at 96% of its weekly range with 21% gain last week. And the last one I'm going to show you in this group, this is one that we had on our ready list as well, FLUT. And you can see why it's been consolidating in this space, had this 3 weeks tight pattern, and moved 2.79% last week, 5% the week before. Flutter Entertainment, FLUT, is the ticker symbol, and that one looks pretty darn good to me. All right, I got to move on because this is going to be a long video if I want to get to all the stuff I want to get to. Anyway, this is a Quanta Services. I believe this is a stock that still actionable, although it's getting away from that. It's pushing away from this 286 buy point here. I think it's going to have trouble with 300. Now, so far, it's acting as resistance, but if it can break through 300, like VST broke through 100, we're in business here. And you can see it's just starting to push away here. The last 3 weeks, increasing volume as it starts to push away from this most recent base. And I believe the base is late stage. Yeah, that's a late stage base, as you can see this chart. Never undercut the prior base, so no new base counts for Quanta Services. I still like it though until it proves me wrong. This one's innocent until it proves me guilty. All right, this is a Sterling Infrastructure. You can see the consolidation pattern, 2 weeks. It went up, big volume, then last week pulled back a little bit, 5.8% off of its high. It just looks like a quiet inside week there on a lower volume than the prior week. Sterling looks good to me. There's your high, there's your pullback. Waiting for the moving averages to catch up on the daily chart. That still looks good to me. Jacobs Solutions, another one that I got to go to the weekly here. This is a mess. You can see this base, cup with handle base, and this finally last week tried to break out here. So I'm watching this one up 4.6%, right at the high there. Jacobs Solution, I like this stock, and that group has been pretty strong. As you can see, it's 17 out of 197. All right, and the last one in this group is MAS. This is Masco making new highs. This is a cup with that handle there, the shakeout below the 21, then it ripped up to the 81. This looks like it might want to start. Got a consistent pattern here of these sharp pullbacks. So maybe we get another one here, back to the 21. We'll have to wait and see. But this thing's making new highs, very strong stock, and I like this stock quite a bit. All right, let's move on from this group to the software names. AppLovin, Beast. This thing's just a beast from the east. 99. Excuse me, 91.91. Breakout here and just see you later, right? This thing was running like Noah Lyles in the Olympics, sprinting for the gold. Up, look at the volume, profile here. Every This is not Aunt Sally buying this stock here. I mean, you can go back to as far back as you want, man. Somebody's buying this stock. Massive volume, trading higher, huge breakout here 3 weeks ago. It was up, in the breakout 33%, followed it up with a 12% gain. It was only up 1.3% last week, but just a powerful, powerful stock. And that's those are institutions moving that one, brother. ZETA is another one that I like. Just surfing its moving averages, broke out once again, if you own this thing, I mean, it's a buy the dip stock for sure, or buy the bounce after the dip. Just keeps making higher lows and higher highs, right? So nothing to do here, but hold on to this thing. Anyway, that one looks good. Let's go to the weekly. It is a weekly review, and it was up 2% last week. Just looks like a one-way stock. And there's a reason for that. I mean, they've been delivering, phenomenal sales and earnings growth. It's all about sales and earnings being rewarded now. DUOL, Duolingo, this thing just fried the shorts here. But there was a thought that ChatGPT would kill this stock. But it hasn't. And I think there was a lot of people got short on this one. And you could see the double bottom base here on the daily chart. Broke out from that 215 area, did not look back. Moving average is trying to catch up here. And if it just goes sideways, they'll catch up in a few sessions. So Duolingo looks fantastic to me. It was challenging that 300 level on Wednesday. It was up to 297 and then pulled back. So it's gotten a little hot. Spotify, another one that I like. It was hovering around 331, playing a possum here for a long, long time. Too long for me. I get bored easily. I get tired, but it didn't do anything wrong. Pulled back to its 50 and then just ripped from 319. There's your move. Was over 380. I believe it was challenging 390 on Wednesday and then pulled back 389. Yeah. And just pull back to its 10 on Friday. So just a couple day pullback, big volume Friday, but definitely one that I'm watching next week. Not going to be on the ready list because it's just a little extended, but that one's I think a buy the dip. And the last one I'm going to show in this software name is a Toast. Your Toast, man. This one looked like it wanted to break out, then pulled back on Friday. Take a look at a 5-minute chart. It just gapped higher, then pulled back, saying, nope, not yet. Not ready yet. So it's still near that, 2788 buy area, closed at 28. So to me, that's 2790, 2788. This is definitely an area of interest. And if it could, bust out above that level, yippee-ki-yay, we got something. So definitely another one that'll, probably on the ready list next week, and one that I'm watching. All right, I got to move on because another big item last week was the Micron earnings report, which was phenomenal. The stock traded up on Thursday following the report on Wednesday. It was up to 114, massive volume. That's a move not to be ignored, Dan. It was up nearly 15%, massive volume here. And then it pulled back on Friday, but I think this one's going higher. I'm going out on a limb here. Yeah, that's a big move, 1 week move. Just, there's just too many sellers. Sellers got exhausted. I've been showing this one for a while, maybe on the 30-minute chart it'll show. Yeah, it just kept, bouncing off this bottom here, and they couldn't push it any lower than that 84 level. Then it started to rise prior to earnings and then gapped higher on Friday. But it tested and retested that 85 area many, many times here, and you can see it right there, and it just didn't want to go any lower. So Micron went higher, and I think it's going higher. It's got a gap to fill. It's got a gap in its chart here. I want to say, where's the gap? Right here, 127 area, 127.24. That's a 20-point move from here. I'll take that any day. Another one, the hardware names that got a little boost from Micron was Dell, now pushing through its moving averages. So weekly chart, you got to look at the weeklies. There's the August 5th low, and then it's been moving up ever since. And then SMCI, this thing is definitely a void. This one's radioactive, investigated by the DOJ. You want no part of that. 66% off its 52-week high. Yeah, this is just a no-go. And if you have rules and play by the rules, and you should have sold it here when it sliced its 50 there at what was it, 948, and it would have saved you a lot of trouble. That big haircut. Anyway, I'm going to move on. A couple semiconductor names. I didn't do them with NVIDIA. I'm going to do them now. This is Pi. This one's been one of the standout performers here in the semiconductor group. 11% above the 2021 EMA, but you can see the breakout here on the weekly. You got a cut pattern, a little consolidation. The last 3 weeks, boom, boom, boom. This one looks good to me. This is Impinj, not that big of a stock. It's got almost a 6 billion market cap, but it was up 5.5% last week. Nice move. Only 3% off its 52-week high. Another one is AMD. I've always liked AMD. I like their CEO, at least I should say since 2014. But this one, I got to show it was up 5.3% last week. Well, the index was up, what did I say, 1%, a little more than 1%. But this 162 area to me is an area of interest. As long as it can stay above that level here, maybe even it just goes sideways, I'm okay with that. Allow the moving averages to catch up. You can see it's starting to get into its own little power trend. It needs the 50 to turn up, and it will if it keeps going, doing what it's been doing. So I kind of like AMD, and I also like Broadcom. This one looks good to me. Consolidating within a base, got that 172 area of interest. Nice pullback on Friday. What does that look like on the weekly? Yeah, nice consolidation pattern. This one's ready to break out here pretty soon. It is a late stage base. You can see it's been, yeah, late stage base for Broadcom. Okay, I got to get to the miners. The miners have turned it around. You can see this is SCCO, Southern Copper. Made that low. That's got to be the August 5th week. And now powered higher 15% last week. That one looks good. CCJ moved with that Microsoft Constellation partnership. This one's traded above its moving averages, up 8% last week. And then FCX, Freeport McMoran, definitely a nice move last week, up more than 15%. You want to see these on the daily. Yeah, just making a nice move. Yeah, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to move to the Ciena reported last week and had a nice report, a nice response to the report breaking out here. This is strong group. This group has been moving up. I think it jumped from like 46 to 23, something like that. I'm going to cover that in the mcstockcharts.com, that people who subscribe there. The other one is LITE. LITE had a a nice move with pen action, piggybacking on the Ciena earnings report, just trying to break out of this base here. That looks pretty darn good to me. Volume picking up. The telecom fiber optic group, yes, thank you very much. Getting a little extended here, but you can see rallied up to that 61 area, pulled back a little bit, maybe a week's worth of handle out, and then see you later. All right, I'm going to move on. The last one I've got to get to. Yeah, this is an old friend, Zim, the shipper, just trying to break out of this base here. Stage 2 base. It broke out, during, I'm not going to go there. It just broke out of a base, ran up, and now it's trying to break out of this consolidation period up 20% last week. Another one in the group is KEX. Definitely, consolidating in a base, had that 3 weeks tight. Nice move last week though, huh? Yeah, pull back to the 10, and then on Friday up 2%. And then Star Bulks, SBLK, consolidating within a base, but above the moving averages. Now let's see on the weekly. Yeah, that looks fantastic. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. No, I have a couple more things. Last week in the news, obviously, Novo Nordisk. They had some news on their, I think it was 2 weeks ago, on their weight loss drug that wasn't as robust as they had hoped. And then the CEO was called into the Senate committee hearings last week, asking why the prices are so high, because the U.S., they're charging more in the U.S. than other countries, but the U.S. is where the demand is. So you should really ask, why are Americans so obese, and why are we demanding the price? And they're paying the price, but Bernie wants to bring the price down, and Novo wants to get this Catalent deal done. So I think they'll just make a deal. You know how they do it, backdoor, pay them a little money, lower drug prices, you get, quid pro quo, whatever. But I think it's going to undercut this, or at least test this 118.80 level, which it kind of did on Friday, but that's why I wouldn't be surprised if next week it shows a little more weakness. Yeah, the low is 119.15. That's, what, 25, 35 cents above the 118.80, but if it undercuts a little bit, I don't know. I'm still a long this Novo Nordisk. I think it's just a quality stock, and it's just going through some turbulence now with whenever your investments bleed into the political arena, it kind of sucks. Anyway, Novo, I think will be fine longer term. Lilly, though, I do believe it's a stronger stock. You can just see it's above its moving averages. It did slice its 50 on Friday. This cohort was kind of weak. Medical diversified now down to 90, so it was in the top 20, and it's slipping a little bit. But Lilly sliced its 50 on Friday. I believe they're taking market share from Novo in the weight loss area, which is going to be a massive market. They've got a patent on Mounjaro till I want to say about 2039, something like that. No, 2036. I don't know, like 12 years. So they're going to be rolling for a long, long time. Anyway, that's it for me. And then this time it's for real. No, I lie. I have one more thing. In honor of the great Steve Jobs, I've got to acknowledge the housing stocks because a lot of things that, thesis that, these Wall Street, prognosticators were predicting with the lower rates didn't come true or didn't come to fruition yet. But the housing market is one of those interest rate sensitives and that has been performing well. And these are making new highs. This is Green Brick Partners, made a new high of 84.21 on Friday. Yeah, and just finding support at the moving average. This is a stellar stock. Another one that I like in this group is DHI. Just pulled back to its 21, but these ones are responding to the lower interest rates. This is NVR. Now it's up to 9,700. Man, it was just 92 not long ago. Or, yeah, 89. Geez, that's a nice little rip there from 8,900 to 9,700. Yeah, 1,500 point rip. So NVR looks fantastic. I know it's only 20,000 shares. Yeah, but it's $9,000 a share. So, Toll Brothers is another one, looks good. I know this is a weekly review, so I got to do the weekly charts. So yeah, these are looking good, making new highs. And then Pulte Homes, which I was going to put on the ready list, but it is a little extended here. And but it does look good. It just pulled back to its 10. I like this little wedge pattern here. As it runs up, makes a high, then pulls back, forms this little wedge pattern, 5 or 6 sessions, and then bounces off its 10 EMA. Anyway, that is it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, so you better not either.